Major funding for NJTV News is provided in part by the members of the New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child, and PSE&G. We make things work for communities.
Tonight on NJTV News, getting ready for the unofficial start of summer on the Jersey Shore.
The shore forecast: beaches in good shape, water quality clean, rip currents, that could be a problem.
Different organizations are here in Trenton to fight for tax fairness. Now, how you do that is a different story.
The $300 million fixer-upper. We've got your first look at the State House renovations.
Plus, the federal government tells New Jersey not so fast on that SALT workaround, and a sign of how the state is trying to raise awareness in tourism at the same time. Those stories and more next on NJTV News.
Live from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway Center in Newark, this is NJTV News with Mary Alice Williams.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Hill. Mary Alice Williams is off today. This weekend marks the unofficial start of summer, with beaches opening and folks heading to the Jersey Shore, a shore that's been preparing for tourism and turbulence as the Atlantic hurricane season is just about to begin. Senior correspondent Brenda Flanagan reports.
It's really, really nice today. It's fantastic out.
Dimitri Karas spent the morning soaking up rays in Asbury Park, one of 216 New Jersey beaches open for business heading into the Memorial Day weekend. Have you been in the water?
Yeah, knee deep. Knee deep. The water's probably like 58, 59 degrees.
We're definitely over all the bad weather, in the long winter that would never end.
Yeah, so you're ready.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. I think we all are.
The shore looks great. New Jersey's beaches, all 130 miles of them, are in really good shape.
Officials at the 16th annual State of the Shore News Conference said multiple beach replenishments have built up dunes against coastal storms. The DEP reports 4 Army Corps projects remain active, including the troubled Absecon Island drainage project that backpooled into the so-called Lake Christie in Margate last summer.
They're going excellently, and the Corps was actually very accommodating in making sure that its schedule wasn't going to interfere with those towns that expressed a concern.
That's important given that today's national hurricane season forecast calls for a 75% chance of a near or above normal hurricane season. That means 10 to 16 named storms, of which 5 to 9 could be hurricanes, and 1 to 4 of those major Category 3 or above. Superstorm Sandy was a Category 1.
Last year was supposed to be slightly above average as well. Obviously, we had Harvey and Maria and Irma, so it turned out to be pretty bad. Our beaches are actually in really good condition now, so should a storm like Sandy occur, we're in much better shape to sort of withstand it.
In fact, the so-called March 4 Easters did erode Jersey beaches, shifting tons of sand to offshore sandbars, and that creates a particular hazard.
While those sandbars are out there, rip currents are associated with sandbars. So we definitely want to urge people to be careful, particularly if they go swimming early in the season before lifeguards come out.
Last summer, sadly, we had a lot of drownings in New Jersey. 8 of them were attributed to rip currents, and most all of them were attributed to swimming at unguarded beaches and after hours.
New Jersey's DEP runs surveillance flights 6 days a week looking for pollution. It started testing water quality a couple weeks ago at almost 190 ocean beaches, plus 31 others along bays and rivers.
This past week, everything passed. Everything's good to go for next weekend.
The Murphy administration's mindful that the Jersey Shore generates about half of the state's $44 billion in tourism revenue, so it's fighting hard against federal proposals to drill offshore for oil and gas. You might call the political shore forecast a little turbulent. In Asbury Park, I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJTV News.
A heated debate is underway over collecting higher taxes on millionaires in New Jersey and the impact of all of it. Leah Mishkin today collected some opinions on it.
On the campaign trail, Governor Murphy promised to raise state income taxes on millionaires, and that hasn't changed since he's been in office. What has changed is New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney's opinion on taxing the rich, as he explained on a recent episode of On the Record.
All taxes are the last resort for one reason, Michael. We didn't have the craziness that happened where Washington did that tax cut that became a huge tax increase to us. And the people you're talking about can't write off their taxes. And I'll dispute, and the administration says they've made money. I can show you how they've lost money.
But the director of federal tax policy at the nonpartisan Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy is now calling the Senate president out for not looking at their data in the correct way.
Senator Sweeney, as I understand it, is looking at our data and only looking at certain parts of it to say that actually the richest 1% do not get a tax cut, that on average they get a tax increase. And I believe what he's leaving out is the piece that comes from the corporate tax cut. We show that the benefits of the corporate tax cut to the richest 1% of New Jersey households, that gives them an average tax benefit of about $28,000. And it's important not to leave that out.
He wrote a brief clarifying that their data shows that the highest income residents can afford to pay more, especially as a result of the new federal tax laws. Senator Sweeney's office has not yet commented on ITEP's brief.
Giving tax break after tax break.
At a rally today in Trenton, the author of a new report by New Jersey Policy Perspective said the numbers show the top 1% would still get a net tax break of roughly $2,500 after federal tax cuts and Governor Murphy's tax plan. New Jersey is among the highest tax states in the country, and there has been debate over whether raising taxes on the wealthy would force them out. The Senate president is among those who say it has.
The percentage of dollars collected from the wealthy is going down because they're leaving.
Steve Wamhoff argues there's no evidence to support that claim, and he says it's not something to worry about since most rich families just got a tax cut.
I would respectfully disagree with that opinion. Our research here at NJBIA shows the impact a millionaire's tax would have, particularly on our small businesses. In New Jersey today, we have 5,000 small businesses that would be impacted by millionaire's tax. They equal over $1 billion in adjusted gross income to New Jersey's budget. On top of that, we have 20,000 individuals whose adjusted gross income to the state of New Jersey is over $54 billion. I would suggest that's money we don't want to mess around with.
Back in March, Sweeney did propose a corporate business tax instead of a millionaire's tax, but he hasn't pushed plans on the matter further. We asked his office whether that idea is still on the table, and they said it was, but reiterated all taxes are a last resort.
Corporations, just like wealthy individuals, received a windfall under the new federal tax law. And it makes perfect sense for states to be trying to take some of that back to meet their own revenue needs. But I don't think that it's an either-or proposition. I think that they're both good ideas.
What several of the people we interviewed, including Sweeney, did agree on is, bottom line, there's a structural deficit issue in the state that needs to be fixed.
For example, we're not fully funding our school formula. We're not giving municipal aid. We're not doing lead prevention where we need. And so we need additional revenue.
How that happens is still up for debate, but there isn't a lot of time left because if Governor Murphy doesn't sign the budget by the end of next month, there will be a government shutdown. In Trenton, Leah Mishkin, NJTV News.
The IRS has spoken on New Jersey's SALT workaround. Standing by at the Strategic Development Group studio, the NJCU School of Business's Rhonda Schaffler. Rhonda, the battle begins.
Absolutely, Michael. For government leaders in New Jersey, a new statement from the IRS on taxes is like pouring salt into a wound. And state leaders are indeed gearing up to do battle. Governor Murphy's vowing to fight an IRS warning about state efforts to circumvent the new law that limits state and local property deductions. The IRS says it will issue new regulations on so-called workarounds that states have been doing since this new law took effect. Earlier this month, Governor Murphy signed into law a bill that would provide tax credits for charitable contributions to local governments as a way to circumvent the $10,000 cap on those SALT deductions. The governor says he believes this workaround should be allowed, saying anything less is a flat-out admittance that the Trump administration is guided by politics rather than policy. The limit on SALT deductions impacts high-tax states like New Jersey, New York, and California, all of which are so-called blue states. New Jersey's Attorney General contends the IRS's decision runs counter to the federal tax code, adding that should the IRS and Treasury Department continue down this path, New Jersey will have no choice but to challenge the new rule in court. A decade after the worst economic recession since the Great Depression, President Trump today signed legislation rolling back financial regulations put into place to try to prevent the next financial crisis. The president signed legislation that rolls back some provisions in the Dodd-Frank Act, such as easing costly regulations for regional and community banks. Smaller banks had long argued they were unfairly targeted following the financial crisis that involved big Wall Street banks. Rising interest rates aren't just forcing consumers to pay more for loans, they're also hurting the state pension fund for government workers. The State Investment Council says the fund earned just over 7% so far this fiscal year. That is below the target rate of return of 7.65%. The council's chairman, Tom Burns, says higher interest rates have created some difficulties, including losses in fixed income markets. On Wall Street today, stocks ended lower. The Dow fell 75 points. And those are our top business stories.
It's one of the oldest state houses in the country, and it's getting a major makeover in Trenton to the tune of $300 million. Senior correspondent David Cruz got a tour behind the scenes.
For a building dating back to the late 1700s, the State House is, well, looking its age. But a tour of the restoration project, which to this point has consisted of stripping away a century of renovations, suggests that behind the faux walls and drop ceilings lies a spectacular old building with great bones and wonderful details. Our guide is Ray Arcario, the executive director of the state's building authority, which is overseeing the project.
The Executive State House is the second oldest continuously operated state house in the United States. It opened in 1792. Today we'll see some of the oldest sections of the State House, some of what remains from 1792.
From the basement to the top floor, the State House has undergone 18 different renovations from 1792 to the mid-1900s.
This is representative of the oldest sections. These are timbers that will date to the late 1790s.
Upstairs, the governor's office, or what used to be the governor's office. Whose office goes where and what the rooms will be used for will be determined by the building itself, says Arcario.
Some of the offices that you'll see on the sides here have been divided over the years in order to provide the sort of office space that has been needed, and we will remove non-historic partition walls and restore these rooms to what their original configurations would have been.
And the early evidence suggests that some of those rooms were quite grand, including the governor's office. This is not exactly the condition in which he left it, but this was the previous governor's office. Some of these details go back to the early 1900s. Second floor, the original Supreme Court, used most recently by the Communications Department. There were floor-to-ceiling columns here once and a stately judge's bench. Arcario says it's the most damaged by decades of water infiltration. This bright, airy space used to be the dark, oppressive corridors of Press Row. Third floor, a pair of matching and spectacular libraries with 30-foot ceilings, long columns, skylights, and ley lights.
Those skylights are currently covered with the most ingenious use of duct tape. So over the years, as the skylights have failed in our attempts to keep water from coming in, we've covered them over with aluminum tape, with duct tape, and we've done everything and anything we can to try and keep water from coming in, and that's been a failing effort. The skylights have reached the point of no return. Looking at some of these spaces, you can be transported to a time when mostly men walked these corridors and met in these rooms, surrounded by Victorian-era elegance, which they probably just considered the office. 230 years and $300 million later, says Arcario, it'll look just like that again. We're trying to look out 50 years, which is really impossible when you think about that. How can you plan for 50 years? But we want to be able to make sure that the building is capable of performing for this administration and subsequent administrations.
You can argue about the price tag, and people still do. But if this were an episode of Love It or List It, the consensus is we love it. Outside the State House, I'm David Cruz, NJTV News.
It's the busiest and the biggest that tops tonight's Garden State Express. Our first stop, Belmar. Curaleaf is New Jersey's busiest medical marijuana dispensary. Out of the 5 now in operation, the State Department of Health reports as of last year, Curaleaf had doubled its patient load to more than 6,300. dispensed more than 2,300 pounds of cannabis and made more than 76,000 transactions of its 30 different strains. And it anticipates getting even busier to meet the growing demand. Governor Phil Murphy has expanded the qualifying ailments for the program. Curaleaf also just moved into a reconstructed 6,100 square foot factory also in Camden County that makes it the biggest seller of cannabis on the East Coast. Next to Trenton, a new face for the old barracks. Visitors to the historic site will see some new signage. It's a marker intended to unify the state's Revolutionary War sites. That is, to give them a common, compelling visual brand. And of course, also to boost tourism. It's part of the Crossroads of the American Revolution National Heritage Areas statewide program. Organizers say they want to draw attention to the state's crucial role in the country's fight for independence. New Jersey has more than 200 Revolutionary War sites. Some state parks already have business-sponsored crossroads signs, and organizers say it's an opportunity for local businesses to do the same. Finally, to Galloway Township, big honors for Hemi, a chocolate lab, and Stockton University Sergeant Tracy Stewart. They took first place in a major 4-day competition of more than 100 canines and cops from 11 different states. Stewart and Hemi were named the 2018 national champions for explosives detection, and they took top honors in searches for packages and vehicles, 4th place for room searches. Another team from the Passaic County Sheriff's Department took the top honors for narcotics detection. So criminals, beware. And that's our Garden State Express for this Thursday, May 24th, 2018. Something up in your neighborhood? Tip us off. New Jerseyans are increasing their complaints against judges. A review of the allegations finds complaints for telling a rape victim to keep her legs closed, another for having a secretary do her son's homework, another for hampering the investigation of a boyfriend, and another for being under the influence behind the wheel and then repeatedly dropping the F-bomb with the officers. 5 formal complaints filed against judges this year in just the first 5 months, 4 for all of last year. Grievances over judicial behavior or violations of the Code of Judicial Conduct have been rising the past 3 years. One critic blames the Christie administration for doing away with the vetting process, but some former Christie administration officials say nominees were still vetted by others. A new criminal justice institute at Rutgers University. The attorney who's heading it up was the director of the New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice in the State Attorney General's office. Ellie Honig is here to talk about that and more. Ellie, good to see you.
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me about this institute.
So we are launching through Rutgers a new institute focused on criminal justice and intelligence and security. We're calling it the Institute on Secure Communities. There's 3 components. The first one is an academic component where we are teaching students in a new minor on intel studies. There's a criminal justice aspect of that. There's a cyber aspect of that. There's a technical aspect of that. The second one is the Miller Center for Community Protection and Resiliency. And what we're doing there is trying to take some of the work that we had done at the New Jersey Attorney General's office in bringing police and communities together in cities like Newark here, Trenton, and Camden, and to bring that model over to Europe. And so we're doing work with various cities in Belgium, in France, in England, in Poland. And it's a whole new model in Europe, and I think already the European cities are seeing the benefit of it. The third portion of it, the third center, is the Center on Policing. And there we're looking to provide policy support to police departments. We're involved in the monitorship here with the Newark Police Department. And we're also looking at new ways to develop and apply big data analytics to criminal justice and to security.
This is a major step up in terms of crime fighting and dealing with some of the issues society is dealing with.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is apply science and objective data to take on some of the complex problems that face police departments and that face communities. And I know we've talked about bail reform in the past, and that was something that I think we've already done successfully in that context through the judiciary. But I think it's a model that can be applied across the spectrum of criminal justice, of intel and security.
Now, you were instrumental in the state implementing bail reform in the Garden State. How is New Jersey doing? You're no longer with the Attorney General's office. You don't have those kind of restrictions. How's it doing?
I won't change my talking point at all. Yes. Even now that I'm completely free to speak at will, it's been a huge success. I will not say it's been easy, because it has not been easy. I will not say it's been perfect. But we are now a year and a half in. The new system started January 1, 2017. And the data, I think, is unequivocal. It's clear. You know, in the first year of operation, January 1 to December 31, 2017, our violent crime rate in this state went down by over 5%. At the same time, our county jail incarceration rate, pretrial, people who've not yet been tried and convicted or pled guilty, went down 20%. And to have both of those things happening at the same time is remarkable, and I think it's undeniable as to the overarching success of bail reform thus far.
But at least some unintended consequences?
Sure, there are always unintended consequences. I mean, there are critics out there who claim people are being released too easily. You know, they use the catchphrase "catch and release," and have tried to sort of catch on to sensationalistic individual cases. But the question is not, is the system perfect? There's no such thing as a perfect bail system. There never has been and never will be one. The question is it better than the old system? Absolutely. And you know, is it doing its job effectively? But when you compare our new system to our old system, under the old system, judges were not even permitted by law to consider the dangerousness of a defendant. We had to change that law, and we had to amend our Constitution. Now, judges are permitted to consider danger. At the same time, we no longer have indigent, low-risk people locked up for months and months and months waiting trial.
The bail bonds industry is almost non-existent as a result of bail reform in New Jersey, and they're not happy about this. Absolutely. What are they doing about it as far as you can detect?
Well, they certainly fought the New Jersey effort with everything they had. They brought lawsuits against us. They hired extremely expensive private attorneys, and so far we, the state, have prevailed in all of those lawsuits. They've tried PR, publicity. They've tried online intimidation. I've gotten borderline intimidating messages through my public social media accounts, and they've tried scare tactics. They've been looking for their Willie Horton. They were hoping, I think, in their heart of hearts, that someone would be released and commit a horrific act here in New Jersey that would turn the political tide.
Which also happened under the old system.
Absolutely. For every example of the former, I'm sure there are dozens of examples of that happening under the old system, where people posted bail, money bail, through a bondsman and then committed murder or horrible acts.
Ellie, are other states now looking at New Jersey and saying, this is a model? We've had enough time to look at this and say New Jersey is a good model?
Yes, and that's the good news. I think the battle is largely over here in New Jersey. I think it's here to stay. I don't think bail reform is going to be struck down or repealed. Many other states are interested in this, New York being one of them. In his State of the State address a few months ago, Governor Andrew Cuomo said, we are going to go down this road of criminal justice reform. We've had inquiries from California has legislation pending, Massachusetts. I got a call, one of my last days in the AG's office, a cold call from Hawaii AG's office. And I think it's important that the lessons of New Jersey, the success story of New Jersey, be told, because the bail industry is trying to build a firewall around this state. They understand the battle's lost here in New Jersey for the bail bonds people. What they don't want is other states seeing the success that we've had and emulating it.
Now, you mentioned there have been lawsuits. There was just a recent state Supreme Court ruling on this issue. What did it say about judges, and what does it mean?
Yeah, look, I think that ruling was perfectly reasonable and not unexpected. Essentially, what the Supreme Court said is the risk assessment tool, we call it the PSA, which was developed by NYU, is not determinative. In other words, judges still need to use their individual discretion for each individual defendant. And I have no problem with that. It's one of the things I've said all along. The risk assessment tool is just that. It's a tool. It is not the be-all, end-all, and everyone still has to do their jobs. Prosecutors still have to argue if someone's a risk. Defense lawyers still should argue if someone should be let out, and judges have to use their independent discretion and make a decision case by case.
And you've seen them doing that in case by case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the risk assessment is always going to be an important guidepost. But absolutely, judges have not surrendered their independence, nor should they.
Other states are going down this road. What's your advice to them? 15 seconds.
It works, and it's worth it.
It works, and it's worth it?
Absolutely.
Anything they should avoid?
No, I mean, they have to stand tough. There's going to be intimidation. There's going to be a fight put up by the bail bonds industry, but the results will be there, and you will have a better and more just system as a result.
Elie Honig, good to see you. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Michael. Anytime.
You're welcome. And now some noteworthy facts that help you know Jersey. The State House is the second oldest continuously operated state capitol in the U.S. Maryland has the oldest. Curaleaf, New Jersey is the biggest medical marijuana dispensary on the East Coast. In 2015, New Jersey taxpayers sent $32 billion more to Washington, D.C. than they received in services. 97% of the nearly 3,400 water samples collected at New Jersey beaches in 2017 met the state's recreational bathing standard. If there's someone who you'd like to know, get to know Jersey, share. Use hashtag KnowJersey. Tomorrow on NJTV News, millions of drivers are preparing to hit the roads this Memorial Day weekend. Are they prepared for higher gasoline taxes? To share any story you've seen, go to njtvnews.org. I'm Michael Hill. For all of us here, thank you for watching.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together. NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of New Jersey residents and businesses for more than 100 years. And Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.